Today's topic is bloodborne pathogens and bodily fluid. Let's discuss some key definitions. Bloodborne pathogens means pathogenic microorganisms that are present in human blood that can cause disease in humans. These pathogens include, but are not limited to, hepatitis B or HIV. Contaminated sharps means any contaminated object that can penetrate the skin, including but not limited to needles, scalpels, broken glass. Contaminated means the presence or the reasonably anticipated presence of blood or other potentially infectious materials on an item or surface. Decontamination means the use of physical or chemical means to remove, inactivate, or destroy bloodborne pathogens on a surface or item to the point where they're no longer capable of transmitting infectious particles and the surface or the item is rendered safe for handling, use, or disposal. Occupational exposure means reasonably anticipated skin, eye, mucous membrane, or parenteral contact with blood or other potentially infectious materials that may result from the performance of an employee's duties. Regulated waste means liquid or semi-liquid blood or other potentially infectious materials, contaminated items that would release blood or other potentially infectious materials in a liquid or semi-liquid state if compressed. Personal protective equipment is specialized clothing or equipment worn by an employee for protection against a hazard. General work clothes is not intended or considered to be a personal protective equipment. Universal precautions. All human blood and certain human body fluids are treated as if known to be infectious for HIV or HBV and other bloodborne pathogens. Risk of exposure. Contaminated sources could come from blood or other potentially infectious materials such as human bodily fluids or animal blood or other tissues that are infected with HIV or HBV. Exposure occurs through needle sticks, cuts from other contaminated sharps, contact of mucous membrane or broken skin with contaminated blood or potentially infectious materials. Risk of exposure. The spread of bloodborne pathogens occurs through direct or indirect contact, respiratory or vector-borne transmission. Let's discuss 2 universal precautions. Number 1, you must treat all blood and bodily fluids as if they're contaminated. And number 2, always use proper cleanup and decontamination techniques. Let's review the steps to cleaning blood or bodily fluids. Please familiarize yourself with the contents of the spill cleanup kit. The kit includes gloves, mask, eye shields, biohazard bag, scoop, a scraper, pouch, wipes, sweat ties, gowns, towelettes. Let's review the small spill cleanup process. Number 1, always put on protective gloves and other protective apparel before proceeding. Number 2, completely cover the spill with the absorbent granules from the fluid solidifier packet. This compound instantly binds vomit, urine, feces, blood, and other body fluids. When the semi-solid forms, use the scraper and scoop to gather congealed fluid. 4. Dispose into the red biohazard waste bag any spilled considered as infectious. Number 5, the absorbent towels may also be used to contain the remaining fluid from the spill and then discard in the red biohazard waste bag. Thoroughly wipe down the contaminated area with the germicidal wipe. If not already used in the previous steps, use the towel to wipe dry. Number 8. When the spill is cleaned up, dispose of the germicidal white cloth absorbent towels, scoop and scraper, gloves, and any contaminated clothing in the red biohazard waste bag. Number 9. Use the twist ties to close the bag securely. Clean your hands with the antiseptic towelettes when finished. Now, only dispose into the clear plastic bag if the spill is not deemed to be infectious. Some safe work practices include removing contaminated PPE or clothing as soon as possible, clean and disinfect contaminated equipment and work surfaces, thoroughly wash up immediately after exposure, and properly dispose of contaminated items. If exposure occurs, wash exposed area with soap and water. Flush splashes to nose, mouth, or skin with water. Irrigate eyes with water and saline. Report all exposures or accidents involving blood or bodily fluids to your supervisor and complete an incident report. Large spill on a tile floor or carpet, contact your supervisor immediately if a large spill occurs, and they'll provide you with specific instructions. To successfully meet the requirements of this course, please access the quiz in the eHub application under Links. The quiz name is General Safety Training. I've provided the link to the quiz as well as the QR code.